frequently treat the thoracic spine through? It wasn't that bad, sorry.
No, I'm laughing at the creep behind you there.
Oh, now we're getting all dark with the humour. So, oh.
Piano in there.
Take two. That's a couple of first
Imagine this man working on your house, what it would sound like, if that's what it's sounding like. So, your T3 is going to be here,
There's a piano in
your
there.
T7 is going to be here, your T10, your T12 is going to be prominent. Now, sounds like it.
That wasn't me.
Stop. So, there's a lot of PAs to do if we want to PA everything, isn't there? There's a lot of PAs, a lot of ground to cover. We've got the central, we've got the unilateral, we've got this transverse, and we've got to do that from the other side. It's going to take hours. So we've got a patient assess this far, we kind of know where they're sore. So we can do a general springing assessment on the back, trying to stay perpendicular. When you get up around here, when the spokes come back down, get this way, so your arm can stay perpendicular. Usually the face head down, that's kind of weird. Your neck okay there? No, you're ready. Put it this side, it's fine. No, I just won't spring it too right here. So we do that. That make sense? Now, if I find one that I feel a lot of resistance on, it feels kind of unusual, you know, that way, or it's tight or something like that, restricted, I might go and scan that a little bit closer and pick, say, 4 levels and do PAs on them. I feel like giving me a hug now, I'm really sorry, but you just threw it out there and I bit. I'm from the north side, I can't help it, bro.
It's already forgotten here. Not up here, like.
I know, yeah. I've known in Cork now, that bollocks. He said something against the Cork. So, then we can scan in with these ones here. So you're only going to pick about 4 or 5 levels at most that you have to do your PAs on. So it's not going to take as long now. Does that make sense? You've at least cut it in a third or a half. Okay? So you're going to do this screening here. Reproducing trichus familiar pain. Or child. So we do the central ones then we can do the unilateral PAs. And unilateral PAs here. If you really want it, if you're really into the PAs and you love the mating stuff, you can get on and do these ones here. This transverse pressure. If you don't do it, I'm not going to be too pushed, but if you do it, it's fine if you do all that stuff. Okay, great, do that. So let's say we have one here that's feeling a little bit jammy and it's a bit sensitive on mechanical pressure and that. And we don't think it's a central process, we think it's a peripheral type of process there. It's a nociceptive process going on. No worries. We'll take a note of that. So we know what's going on there, what levels it's at. And I'll be asking to know your levels. If you tell me there's a problem there, I'll be asking to know your levels. And next, the rib cage. So, what we want to do is, and actually just get us back up here. There you go. That one there, that slide there. So what we want to do now is screen the ribs, because again, you've got a lot of ribs. That one needs to start pushing on both sides and all that. So the ribs should allow it to spring and spring back at you. Should do that. The shaft of the rib should absorb a bit of force and then spring back at you. So we can get in like this way and push, push, push. And as I push in one hand, I release the other hand. And I'm pushing in towards the centre of the thorax. Okay, Trish?
Yeah.
When we get up here, we can be a little bit more. I didn't find anything really wrong there, but let's say I did. So let's say I reproduced Trish's pain, or let's say it was a little bit stiffer on one side than the other. I can put my hand on like so, and this hypothenar that way, and I'm just holding this hand here to hold the S piece to kind of stabilise the thoracic spine a little bit, and I'm going to pick one rib at a time and spring on one rib to try and isolate the rib that's, you know, being a bit dysfunctional or is sensitive, yeah? That's what we're trying to isolate. That makes sense? When you get up here, you end up using your thumb a little bit to get along the rib. That make sense? Okay. And then you have to ground the other side of the table and do that. If I find nothing, I found nothing. If I find something, I found something. Now, you okay there, Trish?
That's just a really good statement.
Yeah, pretty much. If I found something, I'm probably going to do the same thing anyway. I'm going to loosen up my back and give it a crack. And I'll say that. Sorry, you're going to loosen up. And we'll all be feeling better. Could you hop up for a second, please, Trish? Right. Will we practice those techniques on their own? I'll practice them on 2 people, because you've got to see what normal is, and then do it to someone else to get a file of what's normal in your head. So the central one, where you do the general spring, then pick a few levels, 3 or 4 vertebrae, do the PAs on them, transverse and central, and then we're going to do the spring of the ribs, and then we're going to pick the ribs up that way. That make sense? Oh, while we're there, sorry, can I get a body back for a second? let's just talk about the stuff that can freak you out with a thoracic spine. The stuff that can freak you out. So, face down would be great, yeah. So, someone has rib pain. What kind of rib pain do we worry about? Sore breathing, and you know, when you get someone tickles you, it's sore breathing. So it can be, but not. What kind of people would we be concerned?
Kind of older people.
Older people, osteoporosis, risk factors, things like that. And again, it's hard to screen, but you get a little younger people with it as well. But if they're on, say, any kind of medication that might induce osteoporosis, steroids, methotrexate, like that, can have a bit of problem with bone density, then they've got higher risk factors. If you've got, say, a female athlete who's very slim, anyone with kind of anorexia type stuff, they can be more vulnerable to osteoporosis, so we're a little bit more careful. Or an athlete that's had a smack in the ribs. Oh, it's a rib dysfunction. No, it was broke. You can't breathe now. He's got a pneumothorax. You're calling an ambulance to your clinic. You're crying and he's crying. And you're hugging each other and this poor patient that you feel. So, they could have a fracture. So what do we do with this? You know your Ottawa ankle rules? What do you look for? Point tenderness, and is point tenderness on the tendon or on the bone? Exactly, in the malleoli, right? So we're going to do the same thing along the rib shaft. We're going to palpate, and you can palpate the intercostal space, and that's going to be tendon. That's fine, right? It's no problem. But if you're palpating the rib and there's a point of tenderness on the rib,
You're doing that purpose now, stop it.
yeah. Sorry, don't do that. I was doing that first. Sorry, so you're going to palpate the rib the same way you did around the pelvis. You're going to palpate along, pick say 3 or 4 ribs where they're pointing to where it's sore, and palpate along them, and look for point tenderness on them. Does that make sense? So this hand is passive, this one's applying the pressure, and literally circling around, looking for that point tenderness in the rib. Does that make sense? An idea? So all those techniques, try them out. Okay, give them a shot. And that's the